Hello again, this is Spiritual Bully, and I wanted to explain the often misunderstood concept, usually coming from creationists, what a blind watchmaker means. No, I haven't actually read Dawkins' book, The Blind Watchmaker, but I think I know enough about evolution and biology to explain how the mechanism of life and the analogy of a blind watchmaker to people who are ignorant. First of all, you need to understand that the process of evolution, or the mechanism from which we account for biodiversity, is not one component, it's actually two. So get that first. There's actually at least two important components at work. One is at your cellular level, the DNA. Two is what's outside of the life form, which is the environment, or life itself. You need both of these components in order to have evolution. To put it in more simplified terms, we usually call this natural selection and DNA mutation, or mutation acting upon with natural selection. They have to work together in order to have evolution. If you miss one, you're not going to get the complete story. So if you try to argue that one alone isn't going to create evolution or biodiversity, you're right, and you're arguing against a straw man. So please remember that there's two parts at work here. So let's talk first about the cellular level, the DNA. For an analogy, think of the DNA, or at the cellular level, transcription, translation, DNA expression as basically a printing press. This is literally blind in that this printing press guy, the guy who works at the copy machine, literally does not know how to read the book that you're giving him. All he does is he cranks along his printing press or Xerox machine and he makes copies. The translation guy basically, again, does what he's told. He's given information, he translates that to other information, and he sends it off for processing. The transcription and translation basically are blind workers. They, like space monkeys in the movie Fight Club, they don't do any thinking. They're just there to fulfill their role, which is one guy copies, the other guy translates one information to another piece of information. So whatever you give them, they will do what they're told, which is copy or transfer. They cannot have any say over the design process or expression as to what is good DNA, good information, or whether this life form is good or bad. So think about this like when you take your manuscript to Kinko's. All you do is pay them to make copies. The guy at Kinko's are not going to tell you your graphics suck, or your writing sucks, or your handwriting is nasty. He doesn't care. He's just moving along with his job, which is printing the papers for you. He has no say over what you do because he didn't create the information. This is what happens at the cellular level. The cell does not know what's going to happen for the life form as a whole, for the big picture. He doesn't know the ultimate goal. That's what a space monkey means. He's just a part of the clock, and he doesn't know what the machine wants to do. Okay? Using this analogy, we think of the product kind of like a book or a newspaper. The product then gets sent out to the world, which you could think of as either the market or readers. And the readers will look at this paper or book, and they'll say, okay, this is acceptable or not acceptable. You made a mistake. This is bad. This is wrong. This is a bad modification. This is a good modification. And if it's a bad modification, they'll say, we're going to throw your book away. We're going to discard it. And natural selection basically translates this into killing the life form or not giving it a very good advantage to survive. If the mutation or mistake happening at the printing press was a good one, say for example you had a lack of cyan in your color and it turned out to be good and your customers like it, they'll say, okay, we'll preserve this. Here's the catch. This is important. When the market or the customers say that this new change is good, they cannot go back to the printing press and say, guys, this is good, keep doing it. Unlike many parts of life, this is not a positive feedback or negative feedback process. You cannot tell the guys at the printing press to preserve something or delete something. They will keep making their copies and keep making their mistakes until they create something that's completely infertile. So that basically is how things work. I mean, how life works. What happens is the guys at the printing press will keep printing copies and modifications of the book over and over as long as they have the energy to go on. They'll keep making mistakes, and they cannot hear from the outside world as to how good or how bad the product is. The market will eliminate or preserve the products based on how much they like it. And that is the natural selection process. Natural selection cannot go back to the printing press and say, preserve the good mistakes and delete the bad ones. The printing press cannot act on what nature or the market tells them. That's the point. So yes, the printing press will make a mistake and they can make it again. And depending on your luck, for lack of a better word, it'll be eliminated when appropriate or when necessary. But as long as the printing press does not make too many mistakes such that life or the book cannot keep reproducing, to which case that would be extinct, it'll keep happening. So let's review. I hope this analogy makes sense to you. Life is like one guy at the printing press simply making copies with mistakes. He does not hear from the outside world. All he hears and sees is the copies that are given to him. He has no say over the quality of the book or newspaper. This blind printer, he makes copies of the product, sends it out to the market, and allows the market to select for or preserve what the market sees as fit. The market cannot provide feedback to the printing press. So the printing press just does what he's given, makes copies what he's given with some mistakes, and the market makes the decision as to what is good and what is bad. This is what makes life and evolution a rather inefficient process, because the blind watchmaker cannot peek. The guys at the printing press cannot hear your comments as to whether he's producing a good product or a bad product. But he will keep producing this product until he's exhausted of his energy or funds or fuel. And the market will only preserve the good products, and it will basically eliminate the bad products. And in the end, your good products are preserved, and you will only get better products over time because the bad products are eliminated. Good products are preserved. This is a little different than how things work in real life or in a real economy, because we don't like waste. So yeah, that's why businesses like to hear feedback. They want to have input in the design process of their product so they can improve it and they can save time from having to research and develop. And unfortunately, nature, in terms of creating evolving life, does not allow this. So I hope this clears up the straw man or misunderstandings people have of the blind watchmaker and the evolution of life. Just to give a more concrete example, say for example, how did a wing come about? what probably happened was this. The guy at the printing press just kept making his copies. Okay? The cells made a mutation. It started out as either a silent or a harmless mutation. But slowly you have something that becomes half a wing. Half a wing won't let you fly, but half a wing allowed this animal to have some survival advantage. Therefore, this is preserved.